Well, good morning and welcome back. Well, today is that day that we all reach once a year, at least with our motorbikes. Sometimes we do it ourselves, and sometimes we go to a local service centre or dealer. And today, I am heading towards my dealer. Yes, it's the annual service for my classic 650. The one that I waffled on about many times and thought I wouldn't do, the service that is, because I came up with this crazy idea that I was wondering if I even needed a motorbike. Ha ha ha, how we laugh now. Yeah, it's. I was actually hoping to have done. I was aiming for 3,000 miles by now. I had a few plans in my head, but the recent heat wave that we've had, I think the second one this year, it is currently. Actually, I think we've just crossed over into July now, today. And last week it was super hot, so I didn't get to do any of those journeys. And as the weather cooled, although I did manage a leisurely ride out, we had friends over, so we didn't really have the time to, or I didn't have the time to just wander off and travel across the south of England. So instead of 3,000, I am at 2,500, or about 20 miles over that, or so. But it's certainly a different bike. I've talked about this before with my Meteor 350. I think with the J series platform, the 350, because it is a lower powered engine, you use more of the power more of the time. Now, I'm not talking about pushing it, I'm just talking about generally speaking, because they are leisurely rides. But because you use more of the power more of the time, as it loosens up, you notice more of that loosening, if that's the correct term. You know what I mean? As it loosens up and improves with age, it just becomes more obvious with the smaller engines. And I do remember riding my Meteor 350 sometimes and being quite surprised at how quick it felt. And I think it was just a combination of me getting used to the bike, but also just it loosening up as well. And although I didn't notice it quite so quickly on this bike, that's probably more of a consequence of the power that it already has. And as I'm someone who doesn't really push it very hard most of the time, I won't say I don't push it some of the time, because I do enjoy the power of a 650. It certainly, in the last 500 to 1,000 miles, I've noticed how much nicer it's beginning to feel. Right, let's get out of this junction. Yeah, what I generally do with my rides is I always take the first part of a ride, the warm-up part, very easily. I just like to allow the oil to get around, which I know you're supposed to let an engine warm up. And that's what I do very, very regularly, almost without fail. I say almost, the only reason I use that is because at the end of my road, if I have to pull out and just accelerate a little, it's only a 30 mile an hour limit. Even that isn't that hard, but I am super gentle with a cold engine. And then as I gradually warm up and get into the ride, I've noticed, as I say, in the last 500 to 1,000 miles, how much nicer this has become. Now, one point to note on this particular 650, this particular bike actually, it's the only one where I've had to top up oil. Now, I don't know if anybody else has had this with their 650 twins. My 350 Meteor, I didn't do as many miles, in all honesty. I think I probably did 1,000 to 1,500 a year, if that. It wasn't really a high mileage. Might have done a bit more than that, but this I've done 2,500 in the first year, so I can't really compare it with that. Other bikes I've, in the past, when I used to have bikes, yeah, I was regularly topping them up. It was just part of the course, and it wasn't a problem. But this is the first Royal Enfield that I found I topped up. Now, it kind of almost caught me out, because I've talked in the past how I regularly check the oil, and I did, past tense. And the reason I'm raising this is just to kind of share it with you, is I got to know the oil so well, I was checking it, well, when you first get it, I check it most days, just have a quick look after a ride out, put it on the centre stand, and then I just, 10 minutes later, have a quick look at the window. And of course it was always good. And as you get used to a bike, I look less and less. And then came the winter. I did ride in the winter. I actually made videos about winter riding, and I did enjoy that. But as the winter bit a bit more, and life just got busy, I rode less and less. And of course I wasn't checking it. And on the odd occasion I went out, earlier this year, I hadn't checked it. And then I was out with a friend one day, and it just occurred to me, I suddenly thought, oh, I haven't checked the oil for a while, I better have a look. And I had a look, and the glass was almost empty. Now, just a kind of quick heads up, the glass can be empty if you've run the engine. So if you start the bike, it can do all sorts of strange things. So there is a procedure, it's in the manual for these bikes. Anyway, I went through that manual, and there was a little at the bottom of the glass, but that's not me. I'm normally really on top of this stuff. Anyway, caught me out. So I went down to, actually I bought it from the dealer, got a litre of oil and slowly topped it up. Now there's probably procedures that people have been using for years, but here's what I did. I warmed the engine, let it stand for 10 minutes, just so I could see exactly where the oil was, and then I put in 100 millilitres. I actually thought it might not need that much, and I could see that it just started to move, but could do with a bit more, so I put another 100 millilitres in after another short run and a 10-minute standstill. And then I decided not to go for the 100 ml. I wasn't going to chase the full of the glass. I did 50 millilitres followed by another 50 millilitres, sorry. And by this time I was pretty much about 75%, and 75% I thought was probably where I should be, because there are some things that can change. The one thing I didn't want to do more than anything was overfill the oil. I was above the minimum line, so the oil level was okay, and that's fine. But overfilling some engines can be not great. Some cars and some bikes like it less than others, so I didn't want to risk that. So I didn't want to chase that top bar. I just literally went for 75%. And interestingly, I have since read that that's what you should do. A lot of people do, well, not what you should do, sorry. A lot of people do that. A lot of people aim for the 75%. It just seems to be a good balance. Now, I've been checking it regularly ever since. There's no surprise after that little gap and it going down. And it's gone down a little in the last 500 or so miles. I was going to top it up, but I haven't been out, and here we are. So, basically what I'm saying is I'm on the, apart from the first oil service, the very short one, you know, the 300 miler, which actually I think I'd done 500 by the time it went in, 4 or 500. And for legal reasons I can't actually remember. But apart from that little top up, it's still working on the original oil. So nearly all of that 2,000 of these miles have been on this oil. So it will be interesting to see, after an oil change, a filter change, cleaning off the magnet on the sump plug and all of that good stuff, if there's any difference to the bike. Highly unlikely, but fresh oil, does it make a difference? Doesn't it make a difference? Does it give you some sort of comfort in the in your imaginary world? Well, let's see. I've got to be there by 9, and it's now 5 past. So obviously I was always destined to hit traffic this morning, but I didn't quite expect it to be this bad. And although I do occasionally filter, I'm not adverse to it. There are places where I never filter, and this is one of them. My hat filter is just up on the right hand side, so hopefully it won't be too long before I'm pulling in. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen the traffic this bad down the high street. I'm not saying it can't ever be, but I just don't come down here during these times. Oh, would you Adam and Eve it? The truck's just pulled over. I'm literally just pulling in there. Oh, this is quite frustrating now. I can see my destination, but because of that truck I can't get out. Right, and here we are at Hatfields. Finally made it. So I just collected my bike from Hatfields. You know, the greatest pleasure of a bike going in for a service, I don't know if you find this, is that when you've had a day of a loan bike and then you get back on your own, every single time, apart from once, but every single time, it's just like, this is just, it's like being back at home. You know, it's comfortable, it's familiar, and even in just the few yards that I've just done, just feels lovely, absolutely lovely. I'll say there was one day, I've tried the Interceptor, I tried the Meteor 350, no, not the Meteor 3, the Interceptor, the Classic 350, and I've had the GT, the Shotgun, the Bear 650, and well, you can just list off all the Royal Enfields. I've ridden them all, apart from the Bullet 350 and the Bullet 650 now. And what I noticed is that every time I handed one back, just getting back on the familiar was just gorgeous. But the one time that I was surprised was when I took the Shotgun out. I remember taking that out and going down this very road, and it was just, I loved it. I loved that 650 twin. That's when I fell in love with the 650 twin in the Shotgun. And the thing that held me back is I was waiting for the Classic to turn up. But I remember going back to Hatfields after that ride and picking up my Meteor 350 that I loved, the most comfortable bike that I'd ever ridden. And I remember getting back on it thinking, this is the first time I don't feel happy coming back to my own bike. But having spent the day on a Hunter 350, and now I'm on my own Classic 650, just like getting back into your favouriteest, comfortablest armchair that you've just moulded to your shape. It's the familiar. Yeah, what a great bike this is. Now, does it feel any different since it's had the service? Well, I don't know yet. It's difficult to tell because having spent a day on a Hunter 350, I'm a little bit spoilt just getting back on this anyway. But it's good knowing that your bike's been serviced and been looked after. It was only a standard service, just oil and filter, nothing more dramatic than that. And yeah, it's all good. They asked me again if I was still happy, because obviously I'd had a bit of a wobble recently, and I assured them that this was definitely a keeper for me for a while. I seem to be sitting in endless traffic today. When I brought it in, when I came to collect it, and now I'm leaving. I've tried different routes thinking I might avoid it, but I guess it doesn't matter where I go, I'm destined to be in traffic queues. Never mind. I did do something else today. I spent a bit more at Hatfields than I was planning to. Yes, I've bought myself some new boots, which is very exciting for me. You see, I've had some decent boots that are very old, and they're pure lace-up. I've had them for a very, very long time, and they weren't really ideal, but they were fine. And I decided to treat myself. So I'll talk about them in a different video, because it's worth talking about boots. and just sharing my experience with these. But I'll wait till I've had them for a while first and tell you a little bit more about them. But yeah, so I've got new boots, new oil, new filter, and yes, it's exciting to be riding again. Actually, I'm in a queue, but that's moved quite nicely. No complaints here. Lovely sunny day. It is a bit warm, but once you get moving, it's fine. I've got two bike jackets, and the one I'm wearing at the moment is my Royal Enfield jacket. I can't remember the name. If I can find it, I'll put it up in the description, but it's got two flaps at the front that open up to allow air to vent, and it is lovely. It is, I can feel the air cooling through my body. It's not quite a tea bag. I think as someone described one of those very venti jackets, but that's pretty good. And then I've got my sleeves kind of quite loose, so they feel good as well. I've got a nice cool breeze coming up the sleeves. I normally tuck the sleeves into the gloves, but obviously, well, actually that one's come completely undone. But it's just quite nice to try and keep cool. It's about as good as you get with air conditioning on a bike. But I do also have in mind a new lighter top for riding around in the hotter weather. I quite like the idea of an overshirt. You get these overshirts with all the armour built in. So yes, as you can probably tell, I'm having a bit of a revamp of going from getting rid of bikes to actually starting to investing in things again. And the first item are these boots. I was looking at some trousers. I do have some Merlin D30 waterproof jeans, which are great. I'll probably talk about these all in a separate video, because it's just good to share what we have, and then maybe get your thoughts as to what you've got and see if I'm missing out on something. But I did fancy another pair, because I've just got the one pair of these. I have some over trousers as well, some over waterproofs, but I've been caught with the rain a few times with these, and they are 100% waterproof in terms of what I look for. When I say that, you know, I just no water comes through at all. Equally, no air gets in either, so they're a bit warm. So I was thinking of treating myself to some new trousers that are not waterproof, and then just having in my one of my bit of luggage the over trousers that I can just then throw on if ever it does rain, as an alternative to these. The other thing is I've had this helmet now since 2022. It's an HJC. I can't remember. I think it's an I90. And it's been great. It's been fine. But I quite fancy getting something that's a bit more shaped to my head. Now, what I mean by that is, I think helmets just naturally come in different shapes, and you can change some of the padding to suit your head shape. I remember trying on a Shoei a couple of years ago. Very nearly bought one. It was an open face, and the comfort of that helmet, not just the materials inside and the quality of the materials, but just the shape was perfect. So I don't know, maybe I've got a Shoei shaped head. But yeah, good quality helmets, and I think I'm coming to that time next year where this helmet will be 5 years old, and I think it's recommended you change them anyway. So yeah, so working my way up. Boots, trousers, I've gone straight to the helmet. I am considering a nice jacket as well, but I think on the order of things that might come later, but we'll see. So yes, I'm investing for both safety and comfort, so I can enjoy it. I'm actually looking forward to trying the helmets, because I'm looking forward to a bit of comfort. Anyway, I'm waffling while I'm sat here in the traffic jam. It's not very good looking at the back of a Toyota. As I say, I'll carry on when we get going, but here we are. Oh, that cool breeze in the helmet's nice. I did have a long chat with a guy at a clothing shop. I won't say who it was yet. Might do in due course, but I had a good long chat with him, and he was talking about a number of things. We were talking about helmets, because he seems to stock some very stylish helmets, not the main brands like Shoei Arai, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, forgive me, Bell and all that kind of good stuff. But they are good quality, so you can pay anything from £140 up to about 900, and it's very stylish. But he was talking about a number of things, and one of the things he pointed out, and I'd be interested in your views, is that I've got my Ghost XL mounted on the side of my helmet, and I've been using it as a dash cam, effectively, something that can just keep an eye, and it's recording all the time, and it records everything. I never use it on YouTube, it's just on my helmet. Even if I'm not recording, it's on, and then at the end of every ride I delete it and charge the camera. And the idea is that just in the event of an accident, I've got some evidence as to what happened, or in the event of anything untoward happening, I can review and learn from it. So, but he saw it on the side of my helmet and pointed out that that is not really ideal to have equipment mounted on your helmet, because it could shatter the sides. Now, to be honest with you, not sure if what he says is absolutely valid, or whether there's a debate about that. What do you think? Is mounting anything on a helmet a bad idea? And if it is, mounting external cameras, mounting external comms, is that really a problem? It did get me thinking. I'd be interested if any of you have any experience of that, because I'm reviewing what I do now with my cameras. And when I asked him what the best thing to do is, he basically said, well, it should be mounted on the bike, because that's what the bike's for. Now, I used to have my DJI camera, action camera, mounted on the chin. It was kind of a chin clip, not a mount, a chin clip, DJI one that mounts underneath. And that was great, but every time I turned my head, it could sometimes interfere with my shoulders. And of course, you've got extra weight on the head. So that's why I changed to what I have now, which is a chest mount camera. And then he pointed out, well, if you come off, that could do damage to your chest. And I hadn't really thought about that before. So it's got me thinking that I need to maybe look into some of this a bit more, about how I mount my cameras. Now, obviously, what he was saying basically is, the answer is, if you've got like the dash cam, you should have those fixed to the bike. Now, I did have the Auchi on this, which I love the Auchi box and the product, but I took it off when I was selling it, and actually enjoy the view of, well, what you see in front of you. My dials, the metal, the bars, the Royal Enfield, all of that. It's all good stuff. I love that. But of course, that unit actually had, not only did it have the Apple CarPlay, but I had front and rear cameras that just automatically recorded all the time. And it also had tyre pressure monitors, because you just screw the caps on, they run on batteries, and then it reports on the tyre pressure. So it really was an extremely good unit. But I took it off for aesthetics. I'm now wondering whether I go back to putting it on, ruin the aesthetics, but gain some of the safety features that it offers, in terms of not having cameras on me. I've got always got evidence if ever there's a problem. And then of course I've got a great sat-nav system. But it is quite big, so I'm thinking about that at the moment. And then the other thing he said, as well as that, is if you're doing like this YouTubing lark, then he quite liked the Insta360 approach, because most people have those on sticks. And of course, if it's on a stick, you don't have to have it in a fixed position. You can put it behind you, and then you can just turn around and get a good view of what's going on. So yeah, it was definitely food for thought, that are these cameras that I mount on my helmet and on my body actually a risk to my safety? So do I make the bike look a bit uglier by having some really clever technology? Any other bike, by the way, I think the Apple CarPlay units look great on, but it's just these classics, it does take away a little bit. But do I do that? I certainly don't want to invest in an Insta360, so I was thinking about maybe I mount that somewhere else on the bike. But I could mount it to the front, that's the easy thing. But if you take away the view, I think it kind of it then just I could just drive a car. I might as well just put it on the front of a car and tell you I'm on a motorbike. It has a sound effect. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I need to think about what I do to keep the interest going. Anyway, as I started looking at clothes, safety came up, and yeah, all food for thought. Well, that was a lot of traffic, wasn't it? Oh, this bike's so lovely. Absolutely gorgeous. So nice. Such a lovely machine. So there we are. Well, that's my bike service. Thanks for joining me. Take care, ride safe, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. Bye for now.